Is Gimmick Puppet Nightmare actually going to get banned? Is it going to be Expulsion? Is it going to be Albion the Sanctifier Dragon? Well, there's a lot of people considering what is the next play for Branded and what Konami actually does next. I think that Konami has a very big problem on their hands. They released two cards that have a shared mechanic of summoning monsters from the graveyard to either field, which is something that was pretty rare up until now in Yu-Gi-Oh! You can do this very consistently, and now you don't only have a trap card that does it, you have a monster that can't be targeted and can be used as fusion material that basically does the same thing in Albion the Sanctifier Dragon. So how does Konami fix this issue? If you ban Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, you know there's a lot of other targets, and if you get rid of Branded Expulsion, which is very, very strong, because you can use it to summon monsters that are banished and is very hard to interact with. If both targets are banished, you cannot bell this, and you cannot called by or bestial, DD Crow, anything like that. So in today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about what happens next. I think that a lot of people are just like waiting and looking at replacements. I did want to show a lot of targets that are possible, not only for locking your opponent, but overall just to use as tools to play the game in a really fun way, because I think it doesn't necessarily have to be that toxic, but overall I think like using cards, like really surprising and cool cards that you haven't seen in a while, I think it's something that I want you guys to be aware of. The first card I want to talk about is the second best card in my opinion, which is Ido the Supreme Magical Force. Ido is a level 6 dark monster, which means that Granguignol can send it to the graveyard. Why is Ido better than something like DD Orthros, which has a lingering effect that locks you into Fiend? Well, I think that people are looking at the effects, but not looking at the entire line and what it actually takes to get DD Orthros to the graveyard. Think about this right now as I'm asking this question. How do you consistently get DD Orthros to the graveyard without using Branded Fusion? Because Branded Fusion requires you to send monsters. Of course, this is a very easy way to do that, but if you go into a line where you send DD Orthros, you're going for Lubellion, which is to shuffle monsters back, and you might not have enough targets or even a consistent way of getting Expulsion or Albion the Sanctified Dragon to the field. So how do you even summon it? I think Gimmick Puppet Nightmare excelled so much because it can be sent off of Granguignol, and I think people have only sent it with Granguignol. There's no reason to send this card unless you have everything set up already with Branded Fusion. I think Ido is probably stronger than DD Orthros, even though Orthros is a lingering effect and a very strong one at that. I think that Ido prevents you also from, tribute summoning, normal summonings, things that Kashtra can actually still do. And this is why I think, unfortunately, this is a pretty expensive card and pretty toxic as well, but it is a solid replacement. And I think Ra's Disciple is actually going to be the one after, and I'm really, really keeping DD Orthros at the bottom of this list because I think that even though it's strong, I'm going to say it now because you're going to leave it in the comment, but it's a lingering effect. None of these are lingering effects. That's true, but leave it down in the comment below. How are you pulling off that lock with Orthros? I think it's a lot harder and much less consistent, more vulnerable probably. Ra's Disciple, because it's a light monster, you can go into Albion, which in turn allows you to continue summoning and not shuffling back monsters, but keeping resources on the board. So I think Disciple, again, cannot be tributed. It just makes it harder to get rid of, and I think this is why it's better than Orthros in that sense. And two other targets for Granguignol are going to be DDD, Vice King Requiem, recently released and goes from the past too. And this card, if you go to the almost the bottom of the text on the monster effect, actually at the top, it says that you cannot special summon monsters except DDD monsters, basically while it's on the field. If you get rid of it, it no longer applies, obviously, but this again is a target for Granguignol that you can summon to your opponent's field, and basically prevent them from some special summoning monsters entirely, except DDD monsters. They have to specifically get rid of it, and I think this is very similar to an Ibli, right? You get rid of the Ibli you can play. Ibli you can also link, right? But this is kind of problematic if you don't play DDDs. And another interesting card, and this is actually common to all Incantations monsters, which they basically lock you from the extra deck. So if you look at Incantation Talismandra, it says at the very bottom, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck, as long as this card is on the field. So the reason why it's here is because it's a level 6. So this card, again, with Granguignol, you can send it. And at the end of this list, I'm going to put DD Orthros, right? Which, if it's summoned, you are locked into Fiends. And that is a lingering effect. But I think that for the sole reason that this is a level 4, it's going to be much harder to pull off in some instances. And yeah, I think we'll see. Maybe we just don't play locks entirely. And I do want to leave you with some more bonus cards. Of course, you know Archlord Christia, which is very powerful. It has a big body on it. And you can put it on your field, protect it, and just like, not let your opponent play. Another really interesting card is Visor Shock. A very old card. I believe Invasion of Chaos. Maybe I'm wrong, but a very, very old card. What do you do against back row decks? So, Visor Shock is level 5 Dark Monster, right? But if it's summoned, return all set cards on the field to the hand. So basically, against back row decks or Labyrinth, where, this card is in your graveyard, you have a way to pull it off, and then you just wait. Yeah, please set some cards. I'll bounce them all back. I made a video on Jaugen the Spiritualist. You can go check it out. I think it's a funny and cool target to use because it's a light spellcaster, so you can just go straight into Albion. Then we have Blackwing Zonda the Dusk, which is a relatively new card, I believe, in Darkwing Blast. Also, I think might be a common, but I'm not sure on that. This card is a level 6 Dark Monster. It has a big body to it as well, but again, it says you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except Synchro monsters. So the controller of this card is locked into Synchros, and again, this card is a common. This card could be sent off of Granguignol, and we already know about Invader of Darkness, which was a really, really cool secret rare in Invasion of Chaos, but now it says your opponent cannot activate Quick Play spell cards. So if you're having problems with Sky Strikers in the future, Pearly, and of course Runic, right? You put this on your board, it's going to be extremely hard for them to play. And again, if we lose some of those lock engines, why not just use really cool tech cards and use the very cool graveyard effect to, gain some advantages and use some, cool tech cards. Arcjet Lightcraft, another thing that you can send off of Granguignol, and it says that you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except Machine Xyz monsters. That's pretty cool. We have Reptilian Servant, right? Neither player can normal summon a monster while this card is face up on the field. If Floowandereeze come back into the meta, that's easy. What I wanted to emphasize in this video is just the incredible ability of summoning monsters to your opponent's field or using cards like Granguignol and Branded Fusion to get really strong tech monsters. This is basically like, very similar to Mannequin Cat that can, cheese out monsters just like random monsters from the deck. I don't think Mannequin Cat should be banned, even though it summons Testudo Arid Newman, right? I think that's fine. If you use your engine to do cool stuff with old cards, I kind of like it. Yeah, let me know if you have any other targets in mind. I do hope that we go more towards playing fun cards rather than toxic cards, but I'm always asked this question: does Branded actually need to lock your opponent? If you want to win tournaments, you got to play dirty sometimes, and since people played Scythe Locks, right, and played Mystic Mine, they could play these cards as well. I think right now the game is at a state where the goal is not to allow your opponent to play. All decks do that consistently across the board to not give you even a chance to play. And maybe that's unfortunate. Maybe that's a design problem. Maybe they will get rid of all the floodgates like Joshua Schmidt's ban list. I don't know, but we'll have to see. Like the video, subscribe. We're on the way to 10K. Love you guys so much. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget. See you in the next one. Peace.